Okay, so I've had some questions on how to put together a tape chain. So I'll just give a quick little instruction. So what you need is a tape measure. This is a 3/4 inch thick tape measure, Stanley. It's the cheapest one I could find on Amazon. You need some braided sleeve. This is 1 inch braided sleeve, although roughly the same length, but it does expand quite a bit, so you're going to have no trouble fitting in all your cables. And I use a punch to punch the little hole in. I don't recommend drilling unless you either sandwich it between like two pieces of wood or something, because when you're drilling thin metal, the drill bit has a tendency to bite. Will spin this around, slice your hand. Not a good idea. So you use a punch or however you manage to do it. Put a little hole in the end. It's for a 3mm screw. This is just a little punch I made myself. So you got your hole. Now, the edge is kind of sharp. So what you use is the Tessa tape. Now, of course, you would cut your tape measure to the proper length, measure the tape and all that. This is just for demonstration. So what I do is I cut two pieces and I wrap it around both sides. And that's just to take any sharp edge off. So, make it look nicer when you actually do it for real. And what I also recommend doing is, for the tape measure, wipe it down with like isopropyl alcohol or something. You don't want any grease on it or any residue from the tape measure, so that the tape sticks really good. Because I find the cheap China brand Tessa tape I bought works good, but it doesn't really stick to itself too well. So once that's done, you would attach the start or end point and then just feed it through. Again, cut it to length. Now, you don't want the sleeve being as long as the tape. Binding up a little bit. What I also did when I actually did it, you can cut these with scissors. Just chop the little corners off so it doesn't bind while you put it through, and you don't want to cut your braided sleeve. So you do not want the sleeve as long as the tape. This way you can mount it, you can fit it into the slot in the final design, or however these will all be officially added to the design. Right now on my setup, I'll show you later, it's kind of a getaway of doing it. Now once it's on, for wires, for whatever, you have no trouble running anything through this. These are just bone and tubes. Like, this is a heck of a lot easier than the belt chain. You just feed everything through. It does expand. So once it's all through, what I did was to close it off, I don't have any heat shrink. It's the right size, so I just simply wrapped it with Tessa tape. Now, if you buy the name brand, it might stick better, but the stuff I bought doesn't really stick to itself too well, so I just kind of threw a zip tie around it just to secure it, because I didn't want it, coming loose during printing and everything going everywhere. So that's pretty much it for assembly. Now, just to show you how it is on mine, you just see it's just kind of mounted to the frame, and then for the existing design, I just melted one of those M3 nuts in so that I could screw it in from the top, and then I also covered the ends with the shrink wrap just to protect and kind of hide the yellow. But in final design, I'm assuming it'll be a better mounting solution. So that's kind of how mine is run right now. Now, with the 1-inch sleeve, you can see when it bends, it does kind of spread out a bit. When it's all flat, it's roughly the same width as the extrusion, but you can see it bunches up on the bend. So I bought some 20mm sleeving to try that instead, but that's how you put together the tape chain.